Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah.
You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show till Mets do us part. John from Brooklyn, KB reps NJ. With the other team, I don't care what your friends say. Mets fans, we focus like a sensei. Listen to the podcast Monday, Wednesday. Made a couple bad plays, but we still won. Character, yup, we're gonna build some. Are you gonna check the pod? It's real fun. Just like Mookie, I will, son. So invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show.
Available now on all streaming platforms. If you love the New York Mets, check out Til Mets Do Us Part. Enough rapping. Let's get to yapping.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Til Mets Do Us Part. We are live on YouTube, live on Twitter, like we are each and every single Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time or thereabouts, about 7 minutes late here today. And we're going to take you right up until the start of the Mets game, which is coming your way in about an hour and 10 minutes or so. John Saponaro out in steamy, warm, too hot surface of the sun, North Hollywood, California. And that means that my co-host, Matt Ibanez, holding things down back in New Jersey. Ibby, I know it was real hot there, and I think it's rainy now. I don't know what's going on. New York weather is confounding, or New York, New Jersey weather is confounding because it's basically hot here all the time. And it's just different degrees of if the sun is going to try to kill you that day. And for the last couple days, the answer is a firm yes. So,
John, I'm doing pretty good over here, and it is funny that you happen to know the weather over here. But yeah, it is. It's really messing me up, to be honest. You know, one day it's 95, 91, 85. Wake up today, it's like 68. So all this is just like really messing me up here. Nose is going, stuffed and everything. So I hate the fact that it keeps on fluctuating the way it does. But yes, rainy. Hopefully our Mets get the game in today. But all in all, things are going well, trying to enjoy these last couple of weeks of summer before I got to head back to school. But all in all, doing pretty good. And our Mets over the last week have played some better baseball, which is something we're going to talk about today. A lot has gone on, some debuts, some awakenings, if you will, with the offense, some questions still abroad, but of course, a big time injury as well. But we'll get into all of it Wednesday, red lights on. Let's do it.
And I just realized that I did not phrase my throw to you in the form of "How are you feeling?" And I kind of screwed that up. That's my bad. That has been like the classic throw over to Ibby is "How you doing, man?" And I didn't get a chance to actually do it. I screwed it up myself. But yes, we are going to get into all of the amazing things. What a difference a week makes for our New York Mets. Before we do that, let's shout out the chat. We only have about 30 eyes on us right now. I'm sure that number will continue to climb, especially as we use this as sort of the pregame to the Mets first pitch coming your way at 6:45 p.m. on the East Coast. But we've got Brad in the house. We have Armand. We have D, Stanley Babbage. Chrissy C is here. What up, Chrissy? Saying, hi, John and Ibby. Hello, right back to you.
Hello.
We have Ethan KL. Who else? Odd Villain in the house. Shout out Odd Villain. Clink is here, and it looks like that is it as far as the live commenters go for the moment. But again, I'm sure that number will increase. I mean, Ibby, look, I think the best place to start. Shout out Brad, John with the sun's out, guns out. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot, and also it's double, Ibby. That's a double comment. Sun's out, guns out. Because I don't know. Can you tell what my shirt is?
I don't know if I can tell. I can't really tell. No.
Can you tell what my shirt is?
Oh, it's Punisher. It's Frank Castle.
That's John Bernthal's Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, right there. Yeah. So it's double suns out, guns out. Good spot for Brad. No, not where we were going to start the show. We have to talk about Nolan Mclean, who was great.
Yes.
We talked about him kind of closing out the show last week, saying how, look, don't look for him to be a savior. he could provide a spark, but, let's allow him to be what he is, which is a young pitcher, which is a kid, which is a guy who is just in the last year given up being a two-way player. I know he's got a good arm and he spins the ball like a wiffle ball, but let's let him be who he is and not lean on him too much as a fan base to be like, oh my God, please fix everything. But Ibby, it's not overstating it to say that his presence has sort of, in the short term, I'm not putting this on him, but his presence has kind of fixed everything. As soon as he showed up, he pitches his ass off, and the Mets have responded in kind since. So far, so good. Nolan Mclean, thanks for helping us out.
I mean, if there's one word to describe McClain after that start, 5 1/3, 8 strikeouts, I would say it would be a stabilizer, because I feel as though he went out there and he helped stabilize the team. He provided something that it needed some innings, getting out of the fourth, and it never felt like he was in trouble. He had great composure on the mound. He looked like a veteran out there. I never felt as though he was in trouble. He always had a very cool, calm, demeaning factor to him. Shout out to Aunt Rivera at Subway to Shea, who had Joe DeMeo on Sunday, and they broke down the entire thing. It was a great listen. If you haven't, make sure you check them out. But they were talking about the same stuff, how he looked like a vet out there, spin the ball like crazy, never let the moment get too big, still had some fun, turned that incredible double play to get out of trouble. All in all, something like that can be galvanizing, where it allows a team to rally over something. It could be anything. Like last year, it was all the gimmicks, and I'm wearing one right here, as you can see. Like you rallied around whatever it was, whatever you wanted to say was the reason a team takes off. Maybe this is something as well. You factor in that Little League World Series game, or the Little League Classic itself, and they took a big picture in the dugout, and I saw that, and I was like, well, the season last year turned around also when they took a picture that everyone hated and yelled about after a loss, when they took that picture on the bus, and that turned the season after that. So it's
also, don't forget another gimmick game, quote unquote gimmick game in London, which was a big turning point of the season for them last year.
Look, I don't want to always compare things to the 24 season, because we're trying to look beyond that and trying to evolve as a team. But it's always fun to play with parallels in that sense. But all in all, I was extremely happy with everything I saw from McClain. I was even more happy when the right thing was said by Mendoza afterwards by saying, "Yeah, Nolan McClain's in the rotation moving forward. Damn right he is. He needs to be." And we'll see how they go about managing the innings and things like that. But I'm pumped up. I'm excited for every McClain day that's going to be coming up moving forward. And I think some interesting things could be happening with this rotation as early as next week. And I'm sure we'll get into that as well.
We will. A lot of great comments coming in. Odd Villain with the back-to-back. We'll talk about this in a minute, but saying RIP Alvy's thumb. And then, and then following it up by saying, can John Bernthal catch? We're talking about my shirt. And that is an astute observation. That is knowing exactly the right thing to say. I mean, I don't know if you know this. You laughed, so you probably do, but I don't know if some of the listeners and viewers do. John Bernthal was a catcher. Like he was like a semi-pro or professional baseball player overseas. And he was a catcher. And man, the Mets could certainly use, I know he had a good game yesterday in Luis Torrens, but the Mets could certainly use a boost at the catching position. So that is a great comment right there from Odd Villain. Rosie saying, hold your horses, John. The Mets still have a lot to prove. Absolutely. I acknowledge that what I said about Nolan Mclean fixing all the problems is hyperbole. It's been a very short amount of time, but I stand by the toss to Ibby that I gave, which is they have responded to the moment in the best way possible. This kid came up. He pitched great. Do the Mets still have a lot to prove? Yes. Like Ryan Helsley has to get right, of course. Now with Alvarez being out, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes, he was playing like a superstar. He was playing like with the best catcher in baseball, and to lose him is a problem. Now, yes, some other guys have stepped up in the interim. Looks like Brett Beatty's back on a hot swing. Looks like Vientos is swinging his best, most consistent, bats so far this season. So that stuff will help. But yeah, the Mets still have a lot to prove. The runners in scoring position, and can Cedric Mullins truly get hot and provide some pop at the bottom of the lineup. He's had good at bats. He's had a couple good hits, big hits, but he hasn't gotten hot. And then is this the real Lindor that we're going to see for the rest of the season? Or is there another? So there's plenty of stuff, but in the short term, a guy comes up to go into your rotation and you say, man, I hope this can have the effect that we believe it could possibly have. And it has. I know it's only been 3 games, but it has. And that's very important. Brad saying McLean's movement was crazy. I whiffed on a few coming from my TV as well. Ibby, I mean, they talked about
he had like 3,300 RPMs on those spins. Like, it was insane. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, his RPMs were among the best in baseball of pitchers this year, period, full stop, which is very impressive. That is very, very, very impressive to have that, for a guy who's making his first major league start. Now, I know, stuff is stuff, right? Like, and it should translate. If a guy can spin the ball, the guy can spin the ball. But, adrenaline matters, grip on the ball. Are you gripping it too tight? Are you sweating too much? Are your hands clammy? Do you not feel right? I mean, his stuff was as advertised and maybe better. I mean, they were saying like the break on his curveball was up there with like Charlie Morton, the guys who get like the most rotation on their curveball and the most RPMs. It was incredible.
The thing that was so great about that amount of spin is that it keeps hitters off balance. So then it doesn't require you to have to throw 98, 100 miles an hour. His 95, look, he was throwing a hard 95. So when he would mix in that fastball and when he was running into some trouble, they said it on the broadcast. They're like, what do you think Hefner's saying when he goes out there? He's probably telling him, throw your fastball. Like, don't be afraid to. You're throwing a lot of breaking stuff, and he always goes to his breakers, especially when it tries to get, it's used as his out pitch. But he said, don't be afraid to use your fastball here. And he started mixing it in properly, and it was hard for the hitters to keep up with because they were so off balance because of the breaker.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, when you come up, we've seen like both things happen against the Mets, for the Mets. Sometimes the unfamiliarity with a pitcher and the extra adrenaline boost that you get making your major league debut and all that stuff, sometimes that is a huge positive, and sometimes it can be a negative, right? And what we got was the ultimate positive. Again, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I am joking a little bit to Rosie's point where, okay, that was great. It's been great since. Got 3 wins in a row. Let's start to build off of that. The Mets are playing an abysmal team right now in the Washington Nationals. I know record-wise over the last X amount of time, the Mets and the Nationals have a very similar record, and it's like, oh, you are what your record says you are. The talent level on these two teams could not be further. The gap is enormous between what the Mets are and what the Nationals are. I know the Nationals do have some talent, James Wood and CJ Abrams and stuff, but like just day in, day out, you look at the pitching matchups, like the Mets need to use this boost, whether it was real, whether it was manifested, whether it's in their heads, whether it's whatever. The fact of the matter is, Ibby, and a lot of places have said this, the Mets win last night was one of the best games that they've played start to finish as a
complete
team
games. Yes.
All season.
Yes.
Offense is clicking. Starting pitching is great. When they did have to go to the bullpen, Gregory Soto has been out of his mind good, and he's great. And everything that you would want from that game, you get. And here's the thing. I think this is something that we always talk about on this show because it's kind of always tied to the Mets. Ibby, I don't care where it comes from. I just care that it happens. So I don't care if this is some combination of, oh yeah, Nolan Mclean came up, young guy, he was a spark, everybody else started to get their shit together. I don't care if it was they went to the Little League Classic and they were galvanized the way that they were in London and the way that they were with that team pitcher last year and OMG and all a grimace. I don't care if it's gimmicks. I don't care if it's real. If it's translating into winning baseball, I don't care where it comes from. I do not care.
As long as it's all about winning games. And like you said, it's only 3 games, but let's not forget that this team was what? Two wins in a total of 17 games or whatever it was. Like, they were terrible. So
it was brutal. I don't even know.
you have to start somewhere. So the fact that they have been putting it together, you're seeing some other things come together as well. Like, as much as it sucks to lose an Alvarez these last couple of games, like Mark Vientos looks pretty damn good. Like, and it seems as though they were saying on the broadcast last night, it's like you got to keep him in the everyday lineup. Like, he's getting into a groove. You have to keep running with that. If he can provide that power, even though it hurts to lose Alvarez, it's like it's a replacement now. So you're going to keep that power. You would like to have both, but if he can get going, there's a lot to add some length to this lineup. And it's little things like that that are going to help this team moving forward. Yes, there are still questions about, if you can get enough length from the rotation. We'll see what happens with the potential call-ups about a certain player that maybe comes up on Monday. We'll see. But stuff like that is going to really dictate where this team goes. But all in all, 3 games or not, I've been seeing much better baseball. I've been sitting. I've been engaged watching these games. So that alone, based off the way I've been telling you guys how I've been feeling this last handful of weeks of background noise, the fact that you got me sitting back on my couch, engaged, watching every inning tells you a lot about this team.
That's really important. I know it's you can explain some of that stuff away, right? Like, we have this show, so obviously we're big Mets fans. The people who take time out of their days to listen and watch, especially those who jump in live, obviously they're big Mets fans. So no one's fandom is in question here. But when you have such bad baseball like the Mets were playing, and the Mets honestly had played bad baseball for 2 months, it's very difficult to be like, I am in this, win, lose, or draw, down 5 or down 1, up 5 or up 10. I'm in every game. I'm locked in, because there were so few up 5, up 10. And when they were up 5, up 10, you were like, how are they going to blow this? They're going to blow this game. Yeah. And when they were down 1 or 2, you were like, oh, well, they're down 106. I have no idea. Like, it was so bad. So it was so easy to check out. And I always say, Ibby, going back to my days as a stand-up, like, you want the laughs, but honestly, even if people aren't enjoying you the way that you want to be enjoyed, the way that it's supposed to be received, the last thing you want is apathy. You just don't want people to be like, okay, when is this over? Checking the watch. And that's where Mets fans, a lot of us, again, no matter how big a fan you were, had fallen. We had fallen into that apathetic place, and that is not a place that anybody wants to be, and it's not a place that any entertainment thing, whether it's your favorite TV show or your favorite sports team, like, they don't want you as a viewer to be there. You don't want to be like, I'm just watching it in the background, I guess. That's not the point of this. And especially when it comes to sports, because it's live and it's unscripted and you don't know what's going to happen, and there is no, once the moment is past, the moment is past, and you can't recapture that moment. You can't get it back. And so, that apathy was real, and that is not a way to, again, that anybody wants to enjoy their sports or not enjoy it. And it's nice to see that it has turned, because you're right. I have been absolutely locked into every game for, I don't know, I guess like the middle of the weekend. And, it speaks volumes to how they're playing as a team. Let's talk a little bit about Francisco Alvarez, because we kind of touched on it, Odd Villain with the funny comments here about John Bernthal coming in to catch. Ibby, if we got some reports that he's got this UCL sprain in his thumb, it is an injury that does require surgery, but it is an injury that guys have played through in the past. They also said that if it was on his catching hand, it would be worse, because his hand would just get pounded over and over again with, 95 plus mile an hour fastballs, and that's not great. But on his throwing hand, it's a bit better as far as catchers are concerned. They can tape it up, whatever. It's not great. I mean, this is the 3rd or 4th major injury to his hands that Francisco Alvarez has had, all different, all weird, all quirky, whatever. I like that he's going to try to play through this, because I guess he can't make it any worse, and prolonging the surgery won't make it any worse. It's going to become a pain tolerance thing in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, once he's eligible to come off of the IL. But it comes at a bad time. I mean, the guy looked like an absolute superstar. He looked as good as he had ever looked in his major league career, going back to what he looked like as a rookie. 2 years ago. So, I mean, it's a bummer that this happens when it happens, how it happens, because the Mets are going to miss his bat, even if Vientos is stepping up and Brett Baty is stepping up and Jeff McNeil is playing out of his mind. And, even with all of that, because there is nowhere else to turn. Luis Torrens is going to catch most of the time, and you hope that he gets hot. And Hayden Sanger is not a major league hitter. So there is nowhere else to go. This is going to be a loss for the Mets, no matter who steps up, because there's no replacing Francisco Alvarez on this team.
No, there's not, and it's an unfortunate timing because obviously we're past the deadline and there's not much out there in terms of veterans or the guys that are going to fill in that are even going to do much of a difference in what Hayden Sanger can provide you. So when people are screaming about, oh, we need more of this, we need more of that, it's like, guys, you're kind of stuck with what you have. There's nothing much in the system either behind, like, we're not calling up Kevin Parada, like that's not happening. So this is what it is, and this is on the rest of the guys on this, on this 26 to step up from an offensive standpoint to just say, look, Luis Torrens is the guy. He's going to be, he's a defensive catcher. He gets overexposed. We saw that already. But it is what it is. Now, when you look at what we're losing, the 21 games that Alvarez, since coming back from AAA, totally resetting the way that he was as a hitter. 323 average, a 408 on base, 1054 OPS, 6 doubles, 1 triple, 4 homers, 13 RBI, and 14 runs scored. On fire. And the swings I talked about last week, the cuts that he was having, whether it was a home run or a double the other way, he was locked in. So another hand injury happening to him. Like, it sucks because we've seen what it's done to him in the past. This is his 3rd injury to his hand, or to a hand, in 2 years. Like, it's very unfortunate because we're getting a glimpse of what the number one prospect at one time of baseball can do, and then it gets sapped and taken away from us again because of a hand injury, and it's awful. But like you said, another thing I want to bring up real quick before we bring it back to Alvarez is just the other guys stepping up, seeing Vientos doing what he's doing. We talked about third base and consistency. So over the past week, we've been seeing more Brett Baty, and just in general for Baty, the second half this year, 282 average, 350 on base, 507 slug, 5 homers with a weighted runs created plus of 141. On the season, 240 average, 727 OPS, 14 homers, and 40 RBI. Look, it's solid. It is, for the fact that it's been up and down and inconsistent when it comes to, game of hot potato about who's playing third, but he's filled in at second. He's looked adequate second base, not making a fool of himself, doing a good job and providing the offense. It's a mammoth home run last night. It's great to see. So it's providing. I hate that we lose Alvarez because it takes away the oomph the back end of this lineup has been having these last couple of weeks. So will this lineup 5 through 9 be able to maintain when you take that out? That's going to be the big question moving forward.
And I don't want, when I say it's a big loss, I don't want to undermine the contributions of the other players. I don't want to undermine the contributions of Baty and
of course not. Yeah,
and what they've done. But like to D's comment here, saying I do believe Torrens will step up in this stint. Stanley Babbage saying Torres will fill in fine. I hope you guys are right. And history has shown that you're probably going to be right in that Torrens is a streaky hitter. Torrens can get hot and can not carry a team. He's not that caliber of a hitter, but he can get very hot where he can contribute in a major way. We just saw it at the beginning of the season when Alvarez wasn't quite ready yet, that he was able to do that in spades. So you guys are probably right because he's a very peaks and valleys kind of hitter. And he's due for a bit of a peak. Also, he has hit into some bad luck this year, all year. He's hit a lot of, balls on the screws that have gone right at guys and things like that. So I hope I hope Stanley, I hope you guys are right, because if you're not, it is an absolute black hole in the lineup, Ibby. And that's the thing. Like, for as good of a hitter as Torrens can be, by shortening up, going the other way, like, you also have to acknowledge his deficiencies. He has no kind of power because he doesn't really pull the ball, and he's not really strong enough to hit it out the other way, not with any consistency. And for somebody who is a pretty good bat to ball player, he doesn't always, when he's not going well, have good at bats. And that's your starting catcher now. And again, I'm not trying to minimize Torrens because I have called Torrens. I said that he has potential to be the best backup catcher in baseball. I think that's how valuable he is. He's a defensive first guy who is an elite defender in a lot of ways. He can play 25 to 30% of the time, which is what you want in a true backup catcher. And you don't really lose by him doing that. Like, he provides so much for you, but he is a guy who will get exposed with prolonged playing time despite his ability to get hot. And if you ever have to go to Hayden Sanger 2 games in a row, God forbid, again, no disrespect to this guy who has worked his ass off to get here, but that guy, if Torrens could be a 0 offensively, Hayden Sanger is like a negative 150. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing that you just, I hope you guys are right. I hope that he does his job. I think that he can. He has shown it in the past. And I hope that Alvarez does come back this season because the Mets offense on the whole, these last few games notwithstanding, has shown us all year that they're not really good enough to carry a catching tandem that may not hit.
And the problem with that is because we know eventually Torrens gets exposed or overexposed, and he's not that great of a bat, not that great of a hitter. So then when you couple that with and look, you hope that someone like Mullins is able to right the ship and get hot. But I said prior to the deadline when he was talked about, I said it when he was traded for to become a Met. I said, you got to be careful. Once you put a bat like his at the back end of this lineup, which has been very streaky, and he's very streaky, it can become a point where we're losing 2 to 3 innings a game based off of, the lack of production, the automatic outs, and quick innings, if you will, for the opposing team. So when you say you're going to have a lineup that's going to have Torrens and Mullins on the back end, and then you couple in whether it's pick a player, because the inconsistent game of baseball and the ups and downs that all of these players have had, even though they're playing well right now, whether it's Beatty, Vientos, Mauricio, McNeil, whoever you want to say, you couple that in, now you're losing a half inning, another half inning, you're losing a lot in terms of the offense, which then puts more pressure on the guys up top that have to provide. And yes, they're all hot right now, but it's going to, as always with baseball, it's going to regulate. It's going to come back to the mean. But that's the worry for me. It's the back end of this lineup becoming automatic outs and putting more pressure on the top, and then just, hitting into some bad luck or just baseball happening, if you will. And that's where I'm a little bit worried, because I still believe that this offense has to be the one that powers this team to help the pitching.
Well, Ibby, and also I know I'm not breaking news here. Again, we're all big time baseball fans. We all understand this, but I think it's important to bring up in this context. Your catcher, no matter how hot they get offensively, can't play every day.
Right.
If Cedric Mullins gets on a hot streak, Cedric Mullins can play every day in center field. I mean, he's already playing every day in center field, but that's largely because the other options are not good at all. But if he gets hot, he'll play out there. He's good enough defensively. This is Mullins, obviously, to be out there. He doesn't need a caddy in center field. He's hit well enough against lefties this season where you don't necessarily need to sit him against a lefty unless it's a really tough one. Same thing with Vientos. If Vientos gets really hot, you just DH him every day. And then if there's, a tough lefty and you don't want to play Beatty, well, then you play Vientos at third and you play Marte at DH. And so you can get these guys out there and truly ride the hot hand. With catchers, you're just limited in that. Like, your Hayden Sanger's going to play. He has to. The Mets are in the midst, starting yesterday, of 16 games in 16 days. So Hayden Sanger's going to play, what, a minimum of 3 of those games?
Right.
Probably 4?
Yeah.
That's happening no matter what. Torrens could go on an absolute tear, and you're going to see Hayden Sanger in 4 of these games. So, that's where you do have to, I just want to present a little bit of caution to folks with regards to that. I think it's a new commenter. I'm not 100% sure. Mike Laverde, welcome to
Mike?
the show. If you are new, saying rough take. And this was in the midst of what I was saying about Terens. And if you're still here, Mike, just want to know which part of it. Yeah, because again, I'm not hating on Terens. I don't know where you came into the show, but I said he's, potentially the best backup catcher in the sport, but he does have his limitations. And I don't think any of what I've been saying or what Ibby's been saying, but mostly me, because I've just been pretty pointing out the criticisms here. I don't think any of it is off base. We have Game for War here saying that Carson over at Mets Weekly, friend of the show, said that Terens and the Mets in general are hitting a little too much to the opposite side and not pulling the ball as much as they should. If he pulls, he'll hit better. We know Carson's a big proponent of pulling.
Yes, we know that, yes.
He's not the only person. There are plenty of people, either advanced statistics people, traditional statistics people. Ibby, most baseball players are not good enough to consistently hit the ball against a 100-mile-an-hour fastball,
of course,
and then a wipeout breaking pitch to go the other way with authority. Right. Not everybody's Juan Soto at that moonshot home run he hit the other way yesterday. Right. Not everybody's Pete Alonso. Not everybody has that kind of pop. Most hitters are more successful when they pull the ball and pull the ball in the air. I think Terens is a classic case of that. But I think there's something to be said here. It's probably something that we'll dive into deeper at the end of the season. But I think a lot of the numbers, and I saw Carson's post, but a lot of other people have presented this too. The numbers are bearing it out that the Mets may go to the opposite field a little too much. But just to keep this about Terens, I do think that that's something that, Keith Hernandez always talks about learning to pull.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you need to learn to pull and just maximize what your athletic ability does.
But I think the biggest thing also is that, to what you were kind of saying before, is that some guys just can't because they can't catch up to the velocity. And if you want to pull the ball, you got to be out in front. And if you're going to be out in front, you got to make sure that you're guessing right, because, using Nolan Mclean as an example, you're going to be way off balance because they're spinning the ball at 3,000 plus RPMs now. So I think it's also based off of the player. Yes, I think it's easy to say that someone like Terens would have much more success if he pulled the ball. I think we could say that also about a lot of players in baseball. Hey, if you pull the ball a little bit more, you do a lot better. I remember I heard, I think it was Eric Hosmer, which I'm sorry, Mets fans, cover your ears. We all hate Hosmer. But I remember hearing Hosmer on his podcast when he was being told, he was asked questions about like the analytics department and stuff like that. And they would be like, oh, these analytics guys, they would come down and they hand me all this data and they'd be like, you should be doing this and you should be wanting to hit the ball in the air. You should be doing this a lot more. And, get the ball in the air, get the ball in the air, get the ball in the air and pull. He's like, he stops me and goes, what the hell do you think I'm trying to do? I'm up here facing ridiculous pitching, trying my best to produce. And sometimes baseball happens. Do I want to do these things? Of course I do. I know it's going to bring forth better results, but you still have to go out there and you have to do it. It's much easier to say, yes, I want to pull the ball. Yes, you should. Yes, I should do this. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you're a little bit late. The difference between a home run and an out is like the smallest of inches. So again, it's easy to say that. I agree with it. I agree with the fact that, yes, if you pull the ball, you can find more success, and the numbers bear that out. But I think we also have to look into account of who the player is.
I agree. And, none of this stuff, again, I say it all the time, but none of this stuff exists in a vacuum, right? If you don't have the bat speed, it's harder to pull the ball. But if you don't have the strength, you can't consistently get extra base hits the other way. So, and that's the difference between good players and great players. And that's the difference between great players and Hall of Famers. And you're right. Like, you start to nitpick it too much. You're like, why can't you just do this? Well, if I could do that, then I would, and I'd be in the Hall of Fame, And
I wouldn't be coming from Whole Foods. Like, I would be doing these things.
I mean, honestly, it's the same thing, like, to a point we've always talked about on this show, when people are like, man, if Pete Alonso would just hit 290, if Pete Alonso would hit 290, he'd hit 70 fucking home runs. Like, both things are not going to happen. If he could just hit 290, Judge class of play. And I know Aaron Judge hits 320 or whatever the hell, but I'm just saying, like, and then he's starting to get into best offensive player in baseball territory, which is not what Alonso is. Alonso's one of the best power hitters in baseball. He's one of the best run producers in baseball. This is not a knock on him, but he's not going to hit 290. He's not going to hit 300. He's not going to hit 310. Because then also, like, is he sacrificing power to hit 300? Because if he's not, again, then he's going to hit 70 home runs. Like,
and we've also seen,
you're looking at Barry Bonds. Like,
we've also seen the same people that are saying all these things, like they want their cake and eat it too. But when you see Pete with a higher average, but he only has, let's say, 20 homers, and we're in August, we're like, this guy stinks. He's only got 20 homers. Yeah, but like he's still doing everything he wanted. He's still batting like 275. Like, yeah, but he should have 40 homers by now. I was like, well, you can't have both. Like, there are limitations to certain players. So sometimes you pick and choose. Not everybody is a 5-tool player. Very rare.
No, I actually think I think Ronnie talked about this. Ron Darling talked about it on the broadcast this week, like this past weekend. He was talking about Julio Rodriguez. And he was saying how Julio Rodriguez is a 5-tool player. He hasn't played up to that, this year and basically last year too, whatever. But he was like, he is a true 5-tool talent. He's like, and I think that phrase gets thrown around in baseball too much. He's like, most of these quote unquote 5-tool guys are like 2.5 to 3-tool guys because they truly can't do it all. It is so rare to find someone who is a true 5-tool player. And I think it does get thrown around a lot. We have a bit of an update. Mike saying, I liked Ibby's takes, so I guess that means didn't like my takes. That's fine. Nick DeLuca saying, my eardrums, as Mike said. I can tell John is passionate about this topic. Voice pitch got so high, he's about to break a wine glass. I appreciate that. Cool. That's fine. Whatever.
Jesus Christ.
I am very passionate about it.
I'm also laughing at
I'm a squeaky boy. What's going on right now?
I'm laughing at, where was it? It was Odd's comment. Loud Italian guy from
Brooklyn yelling about the Mets. That's what we came here for. You know what? And I will do that. I will do that every time. You're welcome.
That's good stuff.
Welcome to the show, L. I think L is also new.
Welcome everybody.
Welcome to the new folks who are here. Hope that my voice is not off-putting to you. Considering I speak professionally, I'm hoping not, because whatever. Anyway, Ibby, let's head into the break. Before we do, Edward Wall says, hit that like button. Yes, hit the like button if you like what you're seeing. If you like what you're hearing, even if you just like Ibby, hit the like button. You know what I mean? We're in this together. It helps him. It helps me. It helps the show. In all seriousness, thanks to everybody who's tuning in. If you are watching live for the first time, the break is just a quick ad spot that we need for the audio version of this show and a little bit of a reset. There is still plenty to talk about. We have Kodai Senga on the mound tonight. If the Mets don't get rained out, we need Kodai Senga to return to form. As Ethan KL said earlier, need my boy Senga to cook tonight. Absolutely. We like to see Senga round back into pre-injury form. We'd like to see Minaya really kind of get locked in a way that we have not seen. Obviously, his season has not gone the way that he or any of us would have wanted because of that early injury. And hopefully he can round into form here, for this stretch run. So that said, don't go anywhere. It is just a quick 30-second break. We will be right back. John Saponaro, Matt Ibanez. This is Til Mets Do Us Part, live on YouTube, live on Twitter. We'll see you in about 30 seconds. Yo, just like that, we are back with Til Mets Do Us Part, live on YouTube, live on Twitter, like we are each and every single Wednesday. We start about 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is 2:30 out here on the West Coast where I reside. Big shout out to everybody who is here in the comments, everybody who is tuning in live. We're going to take you right up into the Mets game first pitch, which is 30 minutes from now. Barring some kind of rain delay or whatever the case may be. I don't know exactly what the weather is doing out in DC at the moment, but I know it's not so great on the East Coast. But we're going to be here for about another 30 minutes or so. We will not go into the Mets game. You want to watch it. We want to watch it. If the Mets do get delayed, maybe we could spend an extra 10 minutes-ish with you guys, but that all remains to be seen. If you are watching live and you haven't already, throw a thumbs up on the video. It helps out the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel while you are here, and turn your notifications on. You can't comment unless you're a subscriber. So if you want to be a part of the live chat, which is so much a huge part of this show, subscribe to the channel to make sure that you can become a full-fledged participant in the show. If you missed anything and you want to go back and watch it, this video will live forever on this YouTube channel called Til Mets Do Us Part. You can also follow us on Substack, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, all of the places at Til Mets Do Us Part. And if you can only listen to the show, we got you covered there. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. This will drop within a few hours of when we're done with the live stream here. Ibby, I don't think I missed anything. Before we get back into the Mets conversation, let's go ahead and hit them with a quick word from our friends over at Independent Safes.
Absolutely, John. IndependentSafes.com. Independent Safes are protecting homes and businesses with secure residential and commercial safes. Fireproof peace of mind in every corner. Visit IndependentSafes.com today for security that stands strong. And look, we all know what comes next. And honestly, as much as I love this segment, I hate that it's probably going to be yet another person that I don't.
Oh, you know who it's going to be.
I
know who it's going to be from me.
I know who it's going to be, and I guarantee you I know what the majority of this chat would say as well. So it's time to roll the graphic, and I got to do it because it's time to throw away the key on a certain someone. And I hate saying this name. I can't stand saying this name. I can't stand this show. It's a waste of time. But Brandon Tierney, I'm putting you in the safe this week because you're a complete buffoon and you're an idiot. And it's upsetting. It's upsetting because I remember as a younger Ibby, if you will, who loved listening to radio and getting my information from there, I would fight with others saying how, like, BT's like awesome. Like, he was on ESPN radio. He was doing all this good stuff. And I don't know what happened. Years, maybe it's because of how the landscape of radio has changed. People adapt in a way where they think they have to get more attention because of the rise of podcasts and things of that nature. But something went awry and he has gone down the drain big time. And to go out there and to say stupid things like questioning Juan Soto's age when you didn't bother doing that when he was a Yankee last year. It's all nonsense. It's all for attention. So I hope you enjoy the attention you're getting on this show and that you got through the engagement on X and all the other platforms. But you come across as uninformed. You come across sounding like an idiot, just like your partner does, who continue. Like, I love how they're like making fun of Sal on SNY too, for like his tweets, for like how unhinged he is. But all in all, Brandon Tierney, you're in the safe. I'm throwing away the key. It's in the river, and I hope it just sails
no,
away. So I'm
okay,
never going to have to say it again. I'm going to have to say it again.
Okay. So first of all, Rosie saying Sal and Tierney are buffoons. Agreed. Completely agree. Odd Villain saying bald on bald crime is crazy, Ibby.
Hey, Odd. No, Odd. I have said this about this show. As a bald man, I do not, and other balds as well, do not welcome them into the community because of how awful they truly are. So just want to put that out there. Not involved in the community.
Mike with a great question. Ibby, how about we throw the safe into the river instead of the key? Mike was not here last week, as far as I know, but that's what I said we were going to do with when we put Christopher Mad Dog Russo
Yes.
in the safe last week.
Yes.
Just because, sometimes you got to throw that whole damn thing in the safe, in the
Right
river,
in the
and
river.
let it wash
Right
away.
in the river.
This is a great one from Odd Villain. BT looks like a plainclothes cop on Knickerbocker Avenue. That is absolutely great. Mike saying, I can't have the same takes as John. Well, sorry, man. That's how it goes sometimes. It's just how it is.
Oh, man.
Look, this segment being an official segment is only like 2 months old, month and a half old.
Yeah.
Ibby used to just playfully throw somebody in the safe, and then we turned it into a segment. We talked to independent safes about it, whatever. So over the last couple of months, we have both been putting people in the safe, and we don't manufacture disagreements on this show. If Ibby and I agree, it's natural. If we disagree, it's natural. Stuff like this, these segments, we don't talk about them ahead of time just to be different. I said it last week because we both put Christopher Mad Dog Russo in the safe last week for his asinine take on Pete Alonso breaking the all-time Mets home run record. And this week, we are both putting Brandon Tierney in the independent safe for his asinine take on one Juan Soto. Ibby, everything you said is spot on. I know some people are going to probably disagree with this part of it. I am going to just say it. And when I say this, I don't know Brandon Tierney. So I am not calling Brandon Tierney racist. But what I will say is that his comment is racist. At the very least, it is racially coded and it is ignorant as a result. I understand that the Dominican Republic, as far as baseball players are concerned, has a bit of a sordid history with guys' ages. Okay. But the MLB has worked tirelessly to try to sort through that. This is something that happened 25, 30 years ago that was a bit more prominent then. I'm not saying it's beyond the scope of possibility that it could ever happen again, but if he's trying to be edgy, he's not. He's being a twat, quite frankly. If he's trying to be funny, he's not. There's nothing funny about that. Gee, real cutting edge to jump in and try to grab humor that's 30 years old. What's next? Airplane food? Like, fuck off, dude. And also, where was this when Juan Soto was on the Yankees? Did Juan Soto have a youthful glow when he was in pinstripes? Like, Brandon Tierney has fallen so far from relevancy. He has fallen so far from I can't even put into words how stupid of a comment in the year 2025 that is. It's stupid. It's ignorant. And like I said, I don't mind saying it. It's racist. It was racially coded at best. And I just think that that's an awful thing to do when you have a microphone in front of you, as we do, but he's got a bigger platform. Look, I understand sports talk radio is not necessarily journalism. It's not a 1-for-1, right? But you have a responsibility to not just go off half-cocked and say something that you cannot fucking substantiate. You know what I mean? Like, there's no grounds for him to say that other than Juan Soto is from the Dominican Republic. He doesn't say it about Shohei Ohtani. He doesn't say it about, pick your whatever, pick a ball player from Korea, a ball player from Puerto Rico, a ball player from Florida, a ball player from Canada. He's only saying it about Juan Soto because he's from the Dominican Republic.
It was.
Let me just say this. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
At best, and this is the last thing I'll say on it. At best, it's fucking irresponsible. Completely irresponsible. Put him in the safe.
Yeah, I think he was also responding to someone who had said something on a call, but still, I think it's dumb because it just comes across to me as as again that boo-boo face from a Yankee fan that's clearly biased and wants to just find things to pick apart whenever this team is actually doing well, which is why I always say it's always, finding a way to put the Mets down even when they are doing a little bit better or waking up. especially when the Yankees are in the doldrums as well. So all in all, just stupid stuff, not needed, comes across as an idiot. And, I guess ultimately that's the goal now, just be yelled at for being how dumb you are, because at least someone's talking about you. But it is what it is. Let's get back to the Mets.
Let's get back to the Mets. That has been, hold on, throw away the key. It's a fun segment. It's nice to go off and rant sometimes on some of these people who just say the dumbest damn things I can imagine. L saying hate him in all caps in response to Brandon Tierney. Then saying later, not everything is racist. He's just stupid. That's fine. I'm not, again, I just want to say that I don't know him. I'm not saying he's racist. I'm saying the comments are, in my opinion, they are racist. They're at least, like I said, they're irresponsible to go out and say what he said about somebody simply because they are from a particular place. That's all I want to say as far as that is concerned. Ibby, we have Gabrielle, Gabby, saying, show us the mug. Do you have a mug with you that you're
I do. Yeah.
Building character since 1962.
Always.
Let me say this, Ibby, before we get back into the Mets conversation in earnest. I think Gabby and I got off on the wrong foot for some stuff that I had tweeted about Brett Beatty when Brett Beatty was
I'm glad you're
bad.
bringing this up because I plan on getting Gabby on the show.
So let me say this. I think Gabby's a great follow. I was disappointed to see the way that our interaction went. I didn't think that what I said about Beatty was disrespectful. It was tongue in cheek. It was harsh. I'm harsh. I think anybody listening knows that I have a delivery and it's not necessarily for everybody. And I'm going to throw some jokes out there and whatever the case may be. And I could dish it out, but I could take it. People, talking about my voice getting high pitch and people saying, Ethan KL saying, I could see your armpit hair, John, which is not true
Jesus
because
Christ.
I don't have any. So that's just a lie. No, but I could take it. Right. Like, I could dish it out. I could take it. Even Mike, who was coming in, like saying some stuff, saying good stuff today, guys. Appreciate it. So let me say this to Gabby, because I think this is, I think this is the best.
Sorry, I got to bring that one up. I got to bring it up. DeMayo coming in. John, just admit that you hate Beatty already. You hate him very much. You do. You're a hater.
Listen, I don't like Brett Beatty as a baseball player. I think that's very evident. I could be wrong. Listen, I already admitted on this show, Gabby saying, don't twist my words here, John. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to apologize. I'm trying to, I think this is, because I had thought it'd be at a couple different points, DMing Gabby and talking about this, but I didn't know if that was the right approach. So I'm happy that she's here so that she can see me so that I can actually talk through this. So first of all, why do I hate Brett Beatty so much? I just don't think he's that good. Now, I will say that I have Ibby, and you can substantiate this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I did apologize on this show. What was it? 2 months ago? A month and a half ago, whatever it was, to Brett Beatty, because the comment that I made that got a lot of traction, that got Gabby mad at me at the time, was Juan Soto should take back the fucking car, was what I said.
Right.
I came on this show and I said, Beatty can keep the car. This was in the midst of his hot streak when he was like kind of carrying the Mets for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I said he could keep the car. And I said, I was wrong that he is not a quad A player. He is a major league player. He is a serviceable major leaguer. Now, I still do not think that he is an everyday player, and I don't think he's going to be a star player. I could be wrong. I admitted when I was wrong about him being a quad A player, which at the time, by the way, he had an OPS plus that was like 170% worse than league average, but that's a factor. So anyway, point is, I just wanted to clear the air. Joe DeMayo saying, how generous of you. Listen, man, we all have takes, okay? Sometimes I'm right. sometimes I'm wrong. I am big enough to admit when I am wrong. I was wrong about Brett Baty not being a major league caliber player. He's still not my favorite prospect or young player on the Mets. I don't think he ever will be. But I do think that he's deserves
playing
to
some
play.
good ball now, though. He's playing some good ball right now.
He needs to be the third baseman every day now. Vientos should be DHing most of the time. Baty should be playing third base. Jeff McNeil should be playing second base. And Ronnie Mauricio should be on the bench. And I like Ronnie Mauricio better than Baty and better than Vientos. Yeah. But that's what the team needs right now. I'm not going to root against guys on my team. So I just wanted to get all that out. If you have anything to say on the matter, then we can get back into the into the discourse.
No, like I said, I planned on figuring out a day that we can get Gab to come on here and talk some ball, because we both appreciate her tweets and how she handles things. I think it'd be a fun episode, and I think it's funny that this kind of gets hashed out in this moment, because it was something that was been on my mind and I've been working on. So I'm happy that this kind of materialized the way that it did. And hopefully someday soon, one of the upcoming weeks, or at some point, whether it's now or the off season or wherever, we can have her on and we can have a fun discussion.
Gabby saying, John, if you tweet to me that you were wrong about Baty, I'll consider following you back. Ibby, I don't like being given ultimatums, but if I can find, without too much difficulty, the clip of what I said on the show, you might need to help me with this because I don't remember what episode it was.
Okay.
If I can find the clip, I will cut the clip and I will tweet the clip of me saying it to Gabby. That's how much I actually value her as like a follow.
Yeah.
And that's how much I think we got off on the wrong foot. For real.
Fair
I will
enough.
get the clip, the video of me saying it, and I will send it. And I will tweet that. Nick DeLuca saying, should just be a yes or a no, John. Let me get to it. Jesus. Chrissy saying, do it, John. So I will do that. Ethan asking the hard-hitting questions. John, why don't you have armpit hair? Is it by choice?
This show is going off the rails, man.
I know. I like it. It's fun. This has been a weird show. Yes, it is by choice. If you must know. Okay, Ibby, we can't go much further into this show,
right,
without honoring this. Chrissy saying, I'm here for some DP talk.
Let's talk some DP. Let's go.
David fucking Peterson shoved last night. The guy has, I don't know, man. Sometime last season, I know he's had a couple stinkers this year, whatever. Everybody does, but sometime last season, he flipped a switch. This guy looked like a dude who was just going to hang around, with the Mets through like his service time, through his ARB years, and, be a serviceable guy in the rotation who every once in a while would give you a big start, probably would get a little bit of a bonus because he's a left-handed pitcher, and left-handed pitchers harder to come by, blah, 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 blah. Sometime last year, he flipped a switch, and to his credit, he has not really ever looked back. Again, couple bad starts here. It happens. It doesn't matter. The guy has stepped up and filled a void for the Mets when they were in desperate need of an ace. Everybody thought it could be Shamanaya. Everybody thought it could be Kodai Senga. We talked about their injuries this year and how they haven't really fully been there. David Peterson has been there since day one. He deserves all the credit in the world. Hats off, DP.
I mean, this is a great episode because I get to talk about guys that I have defended on this show over the last handful of years, and now they're starting to really, pay dividends for defending them. Whether it's, the Brett Baty's that I've been defending, who's been playing well for this team, David Peterson. I love it. And Peterson going out there, being a dog, being a guy that can carry the load, someone that is providing the innings, reaching the 6th inning, reaching the 7th inning, reaching the 8th inning, reaching the 9th inning. Something that this rotation really lacks is length. It's the one man that's been protecting this bullpen. Love everything that I watched last night with him. Just dominant. I can't remember which batter it was, but I loved, it was like a 2-2 count. hits the corner, gets the call, strike 3, walks off the mound, big FU energy from him, didn't even look, just knew that it was a strike, even though the hitter didn't like it, walked off the mound. It's like, he's got it tonight. And then he carried himself the rest of the way. It's awesome to see because this team needs a stopper. It really does. And people, I know Joe's in the comments, and Joe's been saying a lot on his show about how, Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea need to be those guys, similar to Peterson, to throw 6 innings. Go out there and do your job. And I agree with that. I do. But the fact that we have at least one right now goes a long way. David Peterson is the ace of this staff, whether, in name, whether you believe that or not, or it doesn't matter if you think David Peterson is more likely to be a low end 2 or 3 starter. Maybe you're right. But right now, David Peterson is what Sean Manaea was last year, acting as an ace for a team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's everything that you said, everything you could say about David Peterson has been like, it's not hyperbole. He's been that important to the team. Joe DeMeo saying, Peterson, dog. L, honestly, see, this is what I appreciate about the show, and this is why I appreciate the live comments. Like, and it's why I took the time to say what I did, kind of in the last segment coming out of the break. Like L saying, I was a DP hater back in the day. Won't lie. Like, it's important to admit when you were wrong on somebody, or when not even wrong, but when the information presented with you was different. Like, hating on David Peterson when he was not this version of David Peterson is okay. Like, it's okay to be presented with information and then be presented with different information and be like, you know what? The guy proved me wrong. He came out here and he did his thing. Mike saying, I don't think his middle name is fucking. I don't know. I don't know his middle name. So it could be. I'm not 100% sure. We have Ethan KL saying, DP has been so good. L saying, our ace for real. Theo saying, in DP we trust. I mean, that's what you're looking for. I mean, he has been so good, and he's been sorely what this team has needed. It's what this team has lacked. And it brings me to what'll probably be our last conversation here, as the Mets are going to come on in about 8 minutes or so. But where is your trust in Senga and Manaea? Senga going tonight, pretty soft landing spot for him. Again, we talked about how bad Washington is and how bad they have been playing. Do you think we can get a representative Kodai Senga and a representative Sean Manaea here in the final stretch, these last 40 games into the playoffs? They don't necessarily need to be the aces that we thought they could be and that they probably are, they're being paid to be, but they do need to be more than like 3 2/3 innings pitchers, which is what they've been, especially since coming back. So do you think we're going to get a, not ace level necessarily, but just a more representative version of Sean Manaea and Kodai Senga?
I have more faith in Senga than I do Manaea. And it kind of hurts me to say that because I do love Sean and everything he's done for this team while being here. And that's not a slight either at Senga, because, I love the way Senga goes about and handling his business, but, keeping the strike zone and going out there and, creating swing and miss stuff with, with the splitter and things like that. Like, I think I trust Senga a little bit more because I said it all off season. I was worried about what Manaea would be able to do coming off of the amount that he did in the previous year. Such a workload. Was it going to be too much? He has the injury. He's coming back. Questions of the elbow. Is the fastball still, like, all these questions, arm slot, all of it. Like, it worries me. And maybe it's to the point where maybe he won't be able to give more than 4, maybe 5 innings. And that's upsetting because it's a 3-year deal, but maybe it's a 1-year wash and you have to move forward. But this team's trying to win right now. So between the two, I trust Senga more. I will gladly admit that I was wrong if Manaea goes out there and provides and does what he can do, because that's what he can do last year moving forward towards the tail end of this season and into October potentially, because we all know that he died out come October last year because he did everything for the entire year. Now, starting a little bit later, maybe it's still kind of getting the kinks out. Maybe he can push forward and be a difference maker on the tail end. I have to see it. I really do, and I question it because I'm very worried about the elbow in general. But between the two, I think Senga can be the one that can be the the 1A to Peterson right now, and that's what I trust a little bit more at the moment. It can change by week to week, day to day, whatever.
Mhm.
But between those two, I have more faith in Senga than I do Minaya.
I would have to agree with you, and I think it's simply a bit of recency bias, but it's based in reality because we saw Senga pitch like an ace this season. Minaya has been hurt for longer, has been ineffective for longer. With Senga, he's such an odd guy in that, he knows his body so well. And, last year, all the stuff with coming back from the injury, he's just like, yeah, I'm healthy, but my mechanics aren't in sync. And, so he's going to have these little odd things that go along with him being on your team over the course of a season. It is what it is. Minaya, I just need to see more from him before I can place the faith in him. Whereas, again, with Senga, we saw it this season. He was pitch. I mean, there was talk of him making the All-Star game. He was, he would qualify innings-wise for like the ERA lead. Then he would fall back, because he wasn't getting the innings and blah, blah, blah. He was having a great season. And I think sometimes with Senga, he knows his body. He backs off. He's trying to get back into the groove. Like, if you told me that Kodai Senga threw 7 scoreless tonight and that was the jumping off point for his season, I would believe you. I just need to see a little bit more from Minaya. Again, not that it's smoke and mirrors, but this is the guy who changed his whole delivery last year, and it paid major dividends, but he also modeled his delivery off a guy who never stays healthy in Chris Sale. Mm-hmm. And he also pitched more innings last year than he's ever pitched in his entire career. It was also the most innings that he's pitched in 3 or 4 years because he bounced back and forth, to the bullpen and everything. So to me, Kodai Senga, we always talk on this show about ace and number 1 and true 1A, number 2, whatever. I don't mind that discourse, but Kodai Senga is a legitimate top-end major league starting pitcher. I think he has shown that when he is healthy, that's what he is. Ibby, at points in his career, again, Sean Manaea has been a guy who's been a mop-up guy in the bullpen. And I'm not trying to discredit what he did for us last season and how he reworked himself. But I just don't know if you can look at Sean Manaea's entire career, albeit a longer one than Kodai Senga here in the States, and say he is a bona fide top-of-the-rotation starting pitcher. And I think that's why I have more faith in Kodai Senga. I'm going to have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, and we obviously, as Mets fans, we want both of them to show out big, because if we're thinking towards, what October can potentially be and the ones that you're competing with and the lineups that you're competing with, obviously this team is going to need legitimate stars. And look, can the rookies carry that load in a big spot? Yeah, maybe. I hope Nolan Mclean can be that. I hope if Brandon Sproat is here, he can provide something as well, or how they would go about handling it, potential piggybacks and things like that. We still got Clay Holmes to talk about as well. But I think that those two getting right is going to go a long way in determining if this team can go far in October. I think having them being able to provide the innings, even though that David Stearns was smart to build this bullpen for October, you don't want to burn it out completely. And you're not going to be able to do the same thing. You can't keep going to that same well every day if they're not giving the innings. You can't have it where they're only giving 2 innings or 3 innings. You're going to burn everyone out yet again, regardless of how good they are. So they both need to get right. Obviously, I question if they can, but I also have faith in some of the guys on the back end, whether it's Holmes, who's looked better in his last start. I have all the faith in the world in Nolan Mclean, but again, rookie, there are going to be ups and downs still, regardless of what we saw in the one start. You can't put all the eggs in one basket. Same thing would apply to someone like Brandon Sproat.
Get a couple of these comments in before we get out of here on the last kind of rapid fire thing. L saying, I have zero hope for Senga. taken it in a different direction. That's fine.
Okay.
Chrissy saying, waiting for last year's Mania to show up. I think we all are. Game for War asking, will Senga and Mania feel pressure that the prospects might take their spots? No, simply because I don't think their spots are the ones that are up for grabs. I just don't think at this point they're the ones, the way the Mets rotation has been this season and the way that it was built, quite frankly, they're not the ones that have to worry about it. Gabby with a good question here saying, or a good point here, Clay Holmes will be the truth as a starter next year. The stuff is there. I think we're going to run out of time. We're not going to be able to talk about this, but I did want to bring it up. I agree. We were both bullish on him, his signing as a starter. I think he's hit a little bit of a wall. I've been lobbying for him to finish this season in the bullpen, but next year, I think when he's fully stretched out and he can really do his thing, I think he is going to be the truth. I think he's also had a great season. Anybody who says that he hasn't is crazy. Ethan saying, wow, John making a good point for once. Rare to see. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Jesus
Joe
Christ,
DeMeo
man.
saying,
Come on.
John hates Sean Mania now. Guy makes one apology and now he needs to fill the slot. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Joe asking the hard-hitting questions. Do you naturally have overly hairy armpits normally? No, I don't. I just don't like having armpit hair. So
This is
that's
incredible.
It's become an important topic of conversation.
Oh my God.
Joe saying, can we figure out who Ibby hates so we can get him to apologize soon? Ibby, who do you hate?
Oh, geez. On this team, I mean, do I really hate anyone on this team at the moment or just in general? I don't think I do. No one really gets on my nerves too much. Trying to think.
Okay.
I mean, I'll come back to it, but no one. I mean, Ryan Stanek has been making me angry for a little bit, but like not to the point where I want to come on here and scream about it. Because I think that he can still. I think he can. I've always thought that Stanek is more of a October pitcher as opposed to the regular season. So I'm not too concerned in that sense. But no, I don't think there's anyone at the moment. I mean, if you were talking to 2019 Matt Ibanez, you'd get plenty of answers about who I hate. But right now, not so much. I don't think so.
The game has started, as Armand has pointed out. Okay, we're not going to do play-by-play here. All right, okay. 1-0 pitch to Lindor, and it's a base hit up the middle. Okay. But we're not going to do play-by-play. Okay.
No.
Runner on first, and here comes Juan Soto. Okay. We'll see what he does here, Juan Soto. All right. Okay, no, we're not going to do that. I have to do my obligatory Mike Francesa impression. Last thing, Ibby, real quick. Do you think Brandon Sproat gets the call for Monday from Gabby? And then
I think that we are going to get the call. I agree with everything Ryan Finkelstein said. I think it's going to be the spot. I think it makes sense. I think running with that, with the juice that McLean offered, I think they're going to do the same thing. Now, granted, I think that the demeanor between both pitchers is a little bit different. So I have a little bit of questions when it comes to set adrenaline with someone like Sproat in comparison to McLean. But either way, I think it's time. I think it should be done. And I'm going to say yes. I think on Monday, in need of a starter, with the amount of games that are being played, important games against the NL East, important to do what I always say, try to create some space, or in this case, try to gain some ground, which is needed. I think it's the right time. Call them up. Let's get a six-man moving, and let's win some baseball games. I know, I think it was Odd who said it earlier in the show. It's crunch time. We're down to the last leg. Like, this is it. You got to start winning some ball games. Every game matters. They all matter. But right now, based off of where you are, it does matter. And the last thing I will say is I know we have a poll that was running on the YouTube side. A simple one. Do you believe the Mets can catch the Phillies and win the NL East? 64% said yes, while 36% said no. We still have 7 games remaining with the Phils. Anything is possible. Got to go out there. Got to stay consistent. Win these games, especially when you're facing the Phils. But I think it's possible. We'll see if they can do it.
I will be consistent and just say, yes, I thought he was going to get the call that is Sproat on September 1st or sooner. I said it last week. I said it a couple weeks ago, but especially once McLean got the call last week, I really expected Sproat to be not far behind. So I do think we see him on Monday. And yes, to your point, Ibby, shout out Ryan Finkelstein, who mapped the whole thing out on Locked On Mets. Another guy who's been on this show a bunch. Great guest, great Mets podcaster. And he really mapped out the reasons why, and the Mets being in this stretch of 16 games in 16 days, and how they want to get, Senga an extra day and McLean an extra day, and probably want to have Sproat on an extra day. And if it works, they'll probably go to a 6-man for the rest of the season. So I think that makes a ton of sense. I think we will see him on Monday. That said, Ibby, the game is well underway. We said we were going to get out of here before the game started. We fell a little bit short of that, as it is 1 out in the top of the first. Lindor on first base and Brandon Nimmo up. I think we should get out of here. This has been an unbelievably fun show. It's been a very eye-opening show as well. So anything you want to say before we leave?
I got nothing else. Of course, my Wi-Fi is starting to crap out, so I apologize if I'm a little choppy at the moment. Let's go Mets. Big 13-game stretch. Win these games. Beat up on the ones you're supposed to beat up on. Nationals, Braves, and be ready to go at it with the Phils. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. I'm John. That's Ibby. This is Til Mets Do Us Part. We will see you next week. Peace.